Hello, hello. Happy Sunday. For those of you who are joining me live, it is blurry on YouTube. So I don't even have a napkin nearby. Okay, I'm gonna go get a napkin for YouTube. So I'll be right back on YouTube and I'm actually gonna restart on Instagram. Okay, let's discard that. Discard. I'm gonna get a towel because that looks blurry. But we're talking about love avoidance, so don't go away for those of you who want to work on that. Alrighty. Sorry for the delay, y'all. But here we go. Let's see better. It looks kind of the same to me. But good morning, everyone. We are talking about how love avoidance. Let's get the camera right. Okay, that feels. I felt overexposed. I felt so overexposed. And I was on the wrong account, anyways. Perfect. So, we are talking about how love avoidance can set us back in relationships. So, let's go ahead and get us live on Instagram. All right, Instagram. Hello, hello. Welcome. We are talking about how love avoidance sets us back in relationships. I'm actually going to restart the YouTube live just because I hate when folks are doing a live and I have to get through the intro and I can't fast forward it. So for YouTube's sake, I am going to no, I'm not going to restart. Y'all are good. Y'all have the control panels. But welcome, welcome. We are talking about hi, hello, ladies. Let me know that you're here in the chat. I'd love to see it. But I have thank you. So you do want me to start over? Okay, okay. I'm just going to start over on all the platforms so that everyone who joins. Oh no, you don't want me to start over. Okay. Okay. All right. Thank you, Tammy. All right. Hey, the goat. what? What an up and down intro. You're good. Okay. Okay. Good. I'm happy you're good, and I'm happy anyone who's watching the replay is good too. If you skip this part, um, but I'm going to talk about how love avoidance sets us back in relationships. Let's just start. Love avoidance is an intimacy disorder. For those of you who don't know that, good morning, Claudette. Love avoidance is an intimacy disorder that makes us push people away who want to love us. Love avoidance feels so good as a recovering love avoidance. Um, by the way, for those of you who have been with me for a while, I will introduce myself as a recovering love addict and love avoidance because you can be both. You can absolutely have different coping mechanisms that keeps people away, that keeps you safe from relationships, that avoids vulnerability, avoids being seen, gives you the illusion of control, feeds your fantasy, and gets you to persist and be in relationships where you're actually not acting your best interest. You're not keeping your boundaries. You're your own personal op, right? And so I have experienced both personally and professionally, of course, helping people with that. So when I say I'm recovering, that is because I've been in the same shoes that everyone else is in. So I can speak from experience of knowing how love avoidance can set us back and how seductive it can be when we are acting in a love avoidant way. But love avoidance in itself, the definition that I teach everyone is that it's the persistent putting up of walls to avoid being emotionally, spiritually, mentally overwhelmed by other people, because we have learned that love fails us in the past. Whether or not we learned those lessons as young adults and teenagers, and so we kind of created these defense mechanisms, or like many of us, we learned it subconsciously as young children just by our environment, by maybe the impact of childhood emotional neglect, being in enmeshed parentified relationships, being in families where there's a lot of dysfunction, a lot of abuse, a lot of addiction. Maybe people were dying a lot. Maybe people were very sick. Maybe people were coming in and out. Whatever it may be, we learned as young children to discern that you needed to have some type of barrier with your intimate relationships. You had to have some type of buffer to make sure that you were able to assess if a relationship was safe or not. And in the meantime, to become someone who was very highly independent or able to either take care of your needs yourself or I don't need it. Whatever people were trying to give to you, especially if it was something related to nurturance, to kindness, to compassion, to, focusing on you, focusing on things that you didn't have the power to give to yourself. Some of us just learn how to go without it. That does not mean that we stop needing it. It just means that we learn to go without it. So when people come into the fold of Black Girls Heal, and they are attuned to love avoidance speak, that usually means, hey, Coast Curls, that usually means that you were at a place to where your love avoidance strategies, even though they may have been working to help you have like build the life and everything that you want, when it comes to intimacy and relationships, is getting old. You want something different. You want to be able to connect with people that you can actually trust, right? Like Go said, that would be me, right? Again, as a recovering love avoidant, I love being able to pick and choose how close I want people and when I want them to be close. I have loved being able to not have to depend on other people because it's quicker and easier for me to get things done. But when it comes to building village, building community, those things are direct opposition to those things. When it comes to having a healthy partnership, being in love, right? Being in love with someone who's healthy, by the way, because many of us have been in love with people who have taken advantage of us, and it's reinforced why it's better to have the walls up. It's reinforced why it's better for us to have discernment and to not move too quickly, right? We've been burned with that. You're in love with someone who is healthy, where the relationship is mutually beneficial, someone who wants to see you and see past those walls. Love avoidance doesn't work there because they're going to keep hitting up on stuff and you're going to keep hitting up on resistance of, and it's going to feel unnatural. It's going to feel unsafe. It's also going to feel like I've done this dance before. Again, let me go back to those of us who have been love avoiders, who have fallen in love. 9 times out of 10, you have fallen in love with someone who is probably going to repeat the same type of trauma that you've had before. But even if they presented very well, you took a chance to go there. You took a chance to let them know your childhood trauma. You took a chance to let them in, to depend on them. They told you all the words that you've been wishing, praying, hoping that they would say, that they were going to be here, that you're different, that they introduced you to family, they drove you to therapy appointments, like whatever it may be, they were your people until they weren't. So to be in a healthy relationship or to meet someone who supposedly looks healthy, yeah, you got like this before. So how is this time supposed to be different, right? So now you're dealing with the heartbreak of being. Someone said, yes, that's them. Yeah. Um, how am I supposed to deal with the heartbreak of being disappointed as an adult, and then also all the other times before that I've been disappointed before? So what I do here is I say these things out loud, one, so that you can feel validated, but also so that sometimes when you can see things, it kind of puts legs on it and it makes it tangible so that you can hold a thought. And when you hear someone else say, you're like, huh, is that actually true? And if it is true, do I want that to be true for me? We have the power to say, okay, this is how my thought process has worked before. This is how my relationships have worked before. Is this, and this is how I've entered into relationships. Is this how I want it to continue to be? And if not, what is it that I want my thoughts to look like? When I enter into relationships, do I want to enter in with anxiety and paranoia? Do I want to enter in with violence? Do I want to just be able to fall in love in peace? Right? Do I want to be able to pick people to make sure that I'm able to fall safely? Right? But we have to identify the problem. So I have a free roadmap called it's free. It's called the 5-step roadmap to heal from love addiction. But I have roadmaps for avoidance and other things as well, other intimacy disorders. And for the longest time, you can download it after this. Don't click off. You can download it after this. Stay with me. Unless you're on YouTube, you can pause. But the first step that I would have for love avoidance that was different than love addiction would be, first, you need to identify that there's a problem. Because when you are love avoidant, it is very easy to believe that, yeah, I have some places to grow, but really it's the other people that I am picking. Or it's very easy for you to say, okay, I know that I have some places to grow, but the ways that you put up walls, you can have your own defensiveness against that because those are the walls that have kept you safe. So you have to be at a place where you're open to saying, okay, what I've been doing up until now isn't working, so I want to do something different. So I have already talked before about some ways that love avoidance keeps us stuck. Well, first of all, let me just check in. Is this aligning with people so far? Can you relate to the love avoidance, or who would even call it a struggle? Does this sound familiar to you? Let me know in the chat. That I've missed, also let me know in the chat as well. And while I'm waiting for that, for those of you who joined me for the first time, my name is Sheena Lachey. I'm the founder of Black Girls Heal. I am a therapist by trade, full-time coach here, where I help women heal from the symptoms of love addiction, love avoidance, and love deprivation, and the trauma that causes it, to make way for healthy love, starting with the love within yourself. Because we are our feelings about ourselves, our boundaries within ourselves, the abundance and receptiveness that we have with ourselves is what is mirrored in our outside relationships. And so if we can start to heal ourselves, we can heal everything else on the other side of it as well. Makes sense. Yes. Yes. Okay, great. And so if you're just now joining me, you'll hear me do lessons on both sides. Sometimes we'll come from, okay, here are how your relationships are a little bit messed up, and here's how to heal your relationships. And as you are doing that, you start to heal yourself. And sometimes I'm like, okay, forget the relationships. Let's just focus on us. And as you start to heal you, your relationships and everything else changes on the outside. It's incredible how we are the the compass of our lives. Yes, you listen to my podcast. Awesome. Thank you for listening to my podcast. I'm so happy you're here. All right, so if we're ready for the ways that love avoidance affects your relationships, messes up your relationships, I have three for us today. Put a one in the chat if you're ready for the first one. A one or a heart in the chat. A one or a heart in the chat. Let me know. Let me know. Welcome to everyone who is joining us today. I love interactions. I love going off on tangents. I don't have a heart end today. Thank you, Ashley. I don't have a hard end today like I did on Friday's live. On Friday's live, I talked about love addiction and mistakes in love addiction. So you can watch that. But today, if y'all be asking questions and chatting with me, we can have a good old time today. You don't trust anyone anymore. Ooh, let me know why you don't trust folks in the chat. That might be really good to dive into, especially if it's related to what I'm talking about today. Thank you for the ones, everybody. Okay, the first way that love avoidance will set you back in relationships is it will reinforce your confirmation bias. I kind of already talked about this in the intro, but let's talk about it a little bit more. It will reinforce your confirmation bias. A confirmation bias is when you have a belief about a person. That's what it is. It's blurry. I'm gonna have to figure out how to get that. Oh, see, now it's crisp and then it gets blurry again. Is when you have a belief about a person, the way the world works. Basically, it's your own personal philosophy, right? So if a person's like, I don't trust anyone. I heard someone the other day saying they believe that people inherently are untrustworthy, right? If that is her belief, everything she sees in the world is going to reinforce and confirm what she already believes, because that is a perspective that she sees the world through. She's only going to see the bad news. She's only going to see people who you fall in love, but then they get broken up with. She's going to see friendships, and she's only going to see the frenemy relationships, right? So kind of like for those of you who are on TikTok and I guess TikTok is the best example for this. TikTok is known for having an algorithm. When you sign into that app has figured out the science behind that app is it figures out exactly who you are and what you want to see. Your algorithm, your For You page is completely different than the person next to you. Even if y'all live in the same house, y'all have the same interests, it's completely different. So my For You page might be knitting and crocheting. It might be house hunting and buying. It might be cooking recipes. And that's everything that is fed to me. And I keep clicking on it and everything else. The person next to me might like to watch a lot of hood fights. They might like to watch people dancing to Beyonce. They might like to watch, um, you know, concrete being poured, which has come up on my FYP because I like some of those ASMR videos. Those are kind of type of things I like to watch. And so it could be completely different. Like I remember there was like one like politician or whatever, or it was a pastor or somebody who was talking about how we got to pray against TikTok and we got to get TikTok away. And this was years ago before this was common knowledge. And then because all it is on there is like young dancing girls. I'm like, fool, I've never had a 14, 15-year-old come on my For You page shaking it in front of me. That algorithm knows what you want to see and it's feeding it to you, it's giving you more of what you want. So if I come into this world with this belief system, going back to love avoidance, that I can't trust people, that love and relationships only fail, that heartbreak is what's next. I'm only going to be able to zero into stories that have that information, and I'm going to miss the ones that are right there in front of me. Because for every story that there's about friendship and like you're with someone and you're falling out and like you're dealing with a friendship breakup, there are tons of people who have friends that they have been friends with for 12, 15 plus years. There are tons of stories of people who have like this deep sisterhood tribe where they're doing baby showers with each other, that they're like holding each other's hand while their mothers are passing away. Like these stories exist too, right? So it's about us being able and willing to tap into the frequency. The reason why this is hard is because that's scary. Many of us have tried to change our thoughts. We've tried to be hopeful. We've tried to be optimistic. We've tried to kind of zero in. Again, if you're avoidant, for the most part, most of us are very good at discerning and like logically breaking things down. So we try to zero in on like, this is the pattern, right? Like this is what it is. I'm going to break out of the pattern so that I can stop having these types of dysfunctional things happen. And it hasn't clicked, and that is disheartening and that is hurtful, and we don't want to do that anymore. um, but one of the things that I really try to teach, the reason why I wrote that book about how to pick partners as love addicts, as love addicts, is because I think there's different levels to it. One day I'm going to do a video about the perfect partner formula, because what I teach in that book is about availability. Some of us confuse availability with compatibility. Compatibility. So we'll meet someone that we have a lot of things in common with. We have the same sense of humor. We like to do the same things together. Maybe even we want the same things in life. And we think that that's all we need. But there's an underlying sense of when someone is available. If someone is not available, so they're showing signs that they will hurt us. They're showing signs that they will leave us. They're showing signs that they have the same qualities as previous abusers, neglectors, and other people before. It doesn't matter how much of this other compatibility stuff that's on top, it will hurt us. It is dangerous territory. It will falter. But because we have fallen in love with like the chemistry and the connection, and again we feel like we have changed, like we stopped dating people that we didn't have anything in common with. Now we finally found someone that we do have lots of things in common with, and we have the same trajectory in life, and it doesn't work out. Then why do I keep trying? Like, what's the point of this? One of my, I've had some friends recently who've gone through some breakups, and it's like, I don't even know if I want to do this anymore, right? Like those types of feelings are what come up, right? Is this making sense? Let me know if this is tracking with your experience, or if you've had a different experience. Let me know in the chat. Again, this is not me talking to you, especially because y'all are here with me live. This is me talking with you. So let me know if this tracks, and if not, I can pivot or um, you know connect it to your experience. But I want to make sure that y'all are with me so far. I got it. Yeah, I gave too much. I gave away too much and ended up getting cheated on and toyed with. Yeah. And so here's what's interesting about this as love avoidance. Love avoidance are very good at being avoidant until we not. We are so good at making sure we assess everybody. We're good at testing people. We meet a new potential friend or partner, and we're like, okay, I'm going to give them some time. Like we'll see. I'm not going to put all my eggs in a basket. Like we're very good at pacing with certain relationships, but let someone have the same type of energy, whether we're conscious of it or not, have the same type of energy as the people who have deceived us before. Those are the people that we will give too much to. Everybody else gets crumbs of attention, crumbs of access, crumbs of, trust. But there's always one or two people that we just can't stop letting them in a little bit more. And again, that reinforces our confirmation bias. As soon as I let someone in, I get hurt, right? So we need to we need to we need to understand that our beliefs and our thoughts are just that, they're not facts, right? One really great tool that a lot of therapists teach, especially those who are connected to cognitive behavior therapy, is when you have a thought, stop and think, is this thought absolutely true? Is it always 100% of the time true? If there's a part who's like, well, it's not 100%, but it is for me, okay, then it's not true. It's not 100%. These things, yes, we can. Two things actually can be true at the same time. You have had experiences where you tried to trust people and let people in and everything, and you have been hurt. You have been disappointed. Absolutely, that is real. That's not imagined. That's legitimate. And it's also true that people are not inherently untrustworthy. There are people who have found relationships that they can trust in. You haven't found it. That is true, but it is not 100% of the time true. Is that making sense? Let me know if that's making sense, y'all. And if it is, then we can go to part two. We can go to number two. People will date me and hook up with me, but won't take me seriously as a long term partner. So, what I would tell you um, is what are your requirements that you have to allow yourself to have access to people? Because unless you are being trigger warning, unless you're being assaulted, you are allowing people access to have you sexually, mentally, emotionally. You're the one giving your time, giving your attention, giving your body to these folks, right? So, what are your requirements to allow people to have access to you? How low or how high are they? And for how long do they need to be giving this to you? And in what manner of consistency before they start to get all the access to everything that they get with you, right? This is part of the self accountability part. You are not people's bad actions and their predatory actions are absolutely 100% theirs. They need karma. They need justice. They need like they need their comeuppance, right? You are not. You did not create the monster or the monstrous actions that they are doing. Anyone who sees someone who's vulnerable, who just wants love and takes advantage of that person, has some shit in their system that they need to deal with, and it's despicable. And and the responsibility that's your part is not that you caused it. You did not cause them to act that way. It is, I have a habit, or there's a pattern that I see where there's a wolf that comes into my garden, and I keep calling these wolves either I keep calling these wolves cute puppies, right? I'm mislabeling things that are wolves. So I need to get my education up to learn about the different breeds of canines in the world. These are domesticated, safe animals, and these will tear me up and eat my face and then step on me on their way out, right? So either I need to educate myself about the different types of canines that I'm not aware of, right? Or I have a mindset that's like, "Ooh, look at that wolf. I'm going to train him. I'm going to train him and it will be different for me." Like someone said in the YouTube chat, I saw it coming too, right? It will be different for me. Because I will love him better, or I will pray for him, or I'm going to slide these therapy recommendations to him. I'm going to pass. I love self help, so I'm going to give him this book that I'm reading. Just drop a couple. I'm not trying to change him, but I'm just trying to be a good friend. No, a wolf is a wolf is a wolf is a wolf. Period. And some of us keep playing with them and then feeling like really hurt and betrayed when we get ate up on the other side of it. So again, the wolf is the nature of the wolf. It is what it is, right? Uh, but why do I keep letting them in? Does that make sense? Let me know if that makes sense. Let me know if that makes sense, y'all. Should have brought my water. Period. I'm learning. Great. Good. Good. I'm happy you're learning. Okay. All right. For those of y'all just joining me, we're talking about how love avoidance sets you back in relationships. We've already gone through point number 1, which is that's staying in your love avoidance will reinforce your confirmation bias. We're going to point number 2 now. Put a 2 in the chat. Put a 2 in the chat for me. Makes sense. Yeah, I'm sorry, hon. I see the sad face. It's hard, y'all. It's hard being a lover girl sometimes. It's hard being a lover girl when you have not been gifted with the role models, with the family members that pumped up your self-esteem to remind you of the treasure that you are. Right? So when you meet someone who uses the language that you've been craving your whole life. Like you kind of feel silly, like you want it so much, but I can speak for myself. You want it so much, but also you feel silly wanting it. Like that, being so vulnerable to where they see that, especially if you're a love avoidant. If you're a person who's used to being in her big boss energy all the time, and then you're with someone who just like makes you just so susceptible to the words and to like the romance or like the charm and everything. It's like, what, girl, get it together. Then after they do their stuff, after they do their wolf behavior, now you're blaming yourself for their wolf behavior. No, 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 no. Again, just to be clear, you are never to blame for someone's wolf behavior. That is on them, right? There's nothing wrong with you wanting love and having your heart open. We just got to we just have to make sure that we change the people that we allow into our hearts. We got to change that foundationally. So I've already announced this on this coming Wednesday. I'm doing a free open house for my Love Addiction Recovery School program. This is where all the stuff I teach y'all about. I know people are podcast listeners because you've already said in the chat, and I recognize a lot of your names from just being a part of the community. But for those of you who like have listened, you binge, you still need more help. You maybe have a therapist that you love, right? You have all these things together, but you're still needing more help. My coaching program is where I do this deep dive with everyone. So the open house is free. I'm teaching about the archetypes before I talk about the program and how I help people. For those of you who want to work together, I teach about all the archetypes of love addiction. I teach about the archetypes of love avoidance, and I teach about the archetypes of when we live in love deprivation and we put ourselves last, right? And then I talk about how the program can help you. So if you haven't registered for that, saved your seat to be a part of the March cohort, I would love for you to be there. The link is blackgirlsheal.org/open house. And also the link is in the bio for those of you who are on social. And for love for you to be there, because this is how we break the cycles. This awareness I'm talking about, that is what we got to start from the beginning. We need to do, here's where, for those of you who are in your healing process, let me tell you where you'll mess up at, so then make sure that you don't do it. Sometimes we try to operationalize our healing process and breaking this pattern by doing things one at a time. So it's like, okay, I have a problem picking people, so I'm going to focus on learning how to pick people, and that's what I'm going to do. Then sometimes it's like, okay, this is my childhood trauma, so let me go and focus on my childhood trauma, right? And then sometimes it's like, I don't know how to be by myself if you struggle with love addiction. So you focus on just being by yourself and you do a detox and you just cut off everybody and everything. And you do that. And then sometimes it's like, no, I need to have good friendships. I need to just decenter men. I need to do whatever. I need to focus on my friendships. And I believe we need to do all those things at the same time. I think all of those have different components that heal our hearts, heal our nervous systems, heal our bodies. And when we try to do one at a time, that's when different Triggers and different roadblocks will come and will make us feel defeated as if the hard work that we are doing is not actually working. And it is working, it just takes a lot longer. So we put all that together in the program. So again, I can tell you more about that at the open house. It's on Wednesday at 6:30 p.m. CST. We'd love to see you there. All right. Thank you for the twos. I suck up everything you offer. I'll be there. Awesome. I hope that you get to join us. If everyone who joins, there will be a special gift and incentive for everyone who's able to join me in the March cohort. So love to see you there. All right. So number two, the second way that love avoidance will hold you back in your relationships is that it keeps you in your fear. It will keep you in your fear. Someone say, keeps you in your fear. Let me know in the chat. Let's pretend it is Sunday. You're with me. For those of you who go to church, you're with me before you go to worship. So say to your neighbor, it keeps you in your fear. So, how does love avoidance keep you in your fear? Let me go back to what I was saying at the beginning about where love avoidance typically comes from. Love avoidance, the pattern of love avoidance, typically comes from childhood trauma. Thank you for that, Tammy. It comes from childhood trauma where you have learned that it is safer for you to have some type of buffer, defense mechanism, um, logical mindset, whatever it may be, right? Because you have learned from your most intimate and close relationships that it is unsafe. To depend on a mother or a father for love, for comfort, for that it's going to be okay. To just give you a look of like, I got you, with kindness in their eyes, to not treat you like a burden. Those are things that you maybe didn't receive before. Maybe you may have been physically abused. Maybe you may have been sexually abused. Maybe you grew up with a lot of poverty trauma. Maybe you grew up in a neighborhood where you were the only black person or person of color there, right? And so you've had to create all these defenses because the world out there wasn't safe. And for the most part, these defenses have worked very well for you. You have been able to accurately determine who have been secret predators, who have been ops, who have been frenemies. You have been able to tell and predict what's going to happen down the road in certain relationships. You have been able to choose situations and things that have been for your benefit, right? However, when it comes to healthy people and relationships, also that confirmation bias I've been talking about before, it has been very hard for you to let it go, to let those defenses down, even when people are giving you every bit of information and proof that they are safe. You don't believe it. You need more. So you have more tests. You have more. You need more time, right? They're asking you to open up. You're not sure because you're afraid. Love avoidance. I heard someone say this before, and it was so well said. And I'm not going to do it justice, but she said that a lot of times people will think about and treat love avoidance as if we are like heartless, as if we can just cut people off and cut things off, as if we don't care. The reason we do that is because we do care. We care so much. There is so much tenderness and softness and inner little children. Like just imagine like when I imagine as I'm talking about this and I'm imagining the parts of myself who have felt like this, they're like I'm imagining like my 3-year old version of myself bundled up in fetal position in a corner, shivering, just like so terrified, just so scared of being verbally assaulted, of being neglected. Like she has had to learn how to go within because anytime she has trusted someone, it has fallen through on the other side of it. For those of you who relate to the types of traumas that I've talked about before, as you go within, it may look different for you. In fact, here's an exercise that sometimes I do with my folks, and we'll kind of do it now if you're open to doing it. Um, is imagine what that fear looks like, or actually just feel right now when you think about the worst case scenario, what would happen if you trusted someone, and it might be someone in your life right now who's giving you all the signs that they're a good person, right? Don't use someone who you're like, well, I think they're a good person, but sometimes I got to remind them to text me. Girl, We're not feeding the fantasy. We're trying to heal the fear. Okay. So someone who's giving all the signs of green flags, but you're still having some hesitation, whether that's current or in the past, if there's no one currently. Imagine what's the worst case scenario if you let them in and if you let those offenses down. What is that for you? Think about it. Now, I want you to think, okay, that fear, where do I feel that fear in my body? Let's slow it down. How do I know I feel afraid? So, a couple things may happen here for some of you. Some of you, you're going to get an immediate connection to where you feel it in your body. So, maybe you notice that you feel, as I think about my fear, I feel my jaw start to clench, or I start to feel like my legs start to shake, or I feel a knot in my stomach or a knot in my throat. Some of you, when I said notice where you feel it in your body, you may have been feeling stuff before, but now it goes numb. Now you don't feel anything. Now you're like, I don't feel anything. I'm just here. I just feel okay. You know why that is? That's because emotions and intensity in any way has been unsafe to you. Your body, your nervous system has an immediate response that's like, nope, let's shut it down. That does not mean you don't feel emotions. You have learned to detach from the felt sense in your body, which also, by the way, includes your intuition, which also, by the way, includes your stress response, which is why some of us can keep going and going and going and going, get burnt out until our bodies collapse on us, until we get sick, until we can't sleep at night, right? Because we don't have that connection to our body. That's what just happened. If you're someone who just went numb, right? I see the hearts, right? Like that is what happens. So when we are talking about how deep this fear goes, that's where it goes. Because if I actually let someone in and they hurt me, they're not just hurting me, they're hurting this 3, 4, 6, 1 year old version of me who's been hurt over and over and over again, right? Now, the reason why I'm saying love avoidance keeps you stuck in relationships is, unfortunately, if you keeping people out, if you having walls up helped you actually feel safer, you wouldn't be watching this video right now. You wouldn't be here, right? If walls actually kept you safe, you would feel perfectly content. But that's not what it is. The walls are defense mechanisms. Kind of like if you had a toothache, right? And you went to the store, you got some pain relieving cream for your tooth, and you put it on there. It might take the pain away, but the root problem, the rot, the cavity, the soreness, the infection that's causing the pain in the tooth, that's still there. So our walls, our defense mechanisms, our over control have been the tooth cream. They've been the band-aids, right? But the actual source of our fear is still there, which is why we can get into intimate partnerships with healthy people who are doing all the green flags and we don't know why we can't let them in. Or we let them in a little bit. Or we let them in and we're like waiting for it to end, right? Or when we do let them see something, we're constantly apologizing for it. Or we're like, apologizing for existing for some of us. Or, you know, anticipating that leaving us. Because when anyone has seen these tender, vulnerable parts of ourselves, they haven't actually stayed around, right? It's scary. So the way that we work through the fear of love avoidance is to start becoming love available. I haven't talked about my framework in a long time, actually. So I have a framework that talks about the goal trajectory that we're trying to get to is, instead of being love addicted, we want to become love balanced. We're not eliminating love. We just want to be balanced in how we distribute and administer love and receive love for ourselves, right? For love avoidance, we want to become love available. We want to be people who are available to receive love easily, not after a 30 to 90-day probationary period. We want to be able to where we're walking in love. Love is our constant state of being, both receiving and giving. We want to feel safe for that to be our existence too. Because some of us, you just heard me say, you want love to be your steady state, and all you heard was like you're just an open wound. Like it's almost like you're just an open like target practice. If I walk around as just love, like I'm just loving the world, I'm just opening myself up for people just to like take constant shots at me because that's been your experience before. But there is a way to get to a place where you're available for love, where you're able to be secure in yourself and open to love, but you're tuned into the frequency of people who are there as well. And so now when people who are predators, narcissists, or whatever come around you, it's not attractive to you anymore. In fact, I mentioned my recovery school program. So last Friday, I was talking about dating with some of the students. I have group calls with my students on Fridays around lunchtime. And if people can't come live, they can submit questions and I'll go through, and answer everything as well there. But either way, we were talking. And one of the things that I said is as you go through this healing process, your attraction does start to change, but it doesn't change the way that you think it is. Before, I thought that when I became healed, when I first started, when I entered my healing process from love addiction, I started through the 12-step program, Sex and Love Addicts Anonymous. I worked the whole program. I was a sponsor. I did the whole thing. For me, it was enough, which is why I'm here and why I'm teaching the stuff that I teach here. I needed a combination of therapeutic support, trauma work, the mission and the orientation of the 12-step program and recovery, and also learning how to have a healthy relationship, healthy friendships, boundaries, knowing myself. Like I needed all that, right? So that's why I teach that here. But I thought when I first started my recovery process that the sign of me being healed is when people came around who had like fuckboy energy or whatever my type used to be, that I would be like, ew, yuck. Like I don't even like them anymore. Like they're not even cute. And that's not what happened. What happened was these folks would come around and I would still have an immediate draw to them. Like I would immediately, in the room of 100 people, I could still find those same people. But what changed is my reaction to that immediate connection. Before, the immediate connection would feel like, oh, like he's cute, or wow, like what a sad story. Like I want to like befriend him and love him, and like be different than the other people were before. Like my inner pick me would come out, and she was there. She was ready. She was ready to fix and um, earn all that love. Like that's the reaction that I had. Now when I meet people who have that charm and have that kind of stuff, now I'm like, there is actually a form of like, oh, I know what this is. I know exactly what this is. And this is kind of yucky. Like it is very yucky. I don't like it. I can now I can have someone love bombing me in my face and telling me how, you're the most perfect person and you're so different than all the others. And, like, I would love to like see where this goes and like saying all the things that used to work before. And I'm just like, okay. Like I'm like ready to leave the conversation when there was like another version of me that was very thirsty for that type of thing. Right. So it changes. Your attraction to the stuff absolutely does change. So that it leaves me open to now when I meet people who have that healthier energy, I can trust that. I can receive that. I don't have to have barriers up. Okay. Let me pause. This is where I now have one more point I want to share with y'all, but I want to hear what questions do y'all have so far. And if you don't have any questions, let me know that in the chat as well. Let me know in the chat. Um, my heart, my throat, my stomach, all at the same time. Yeah. So you're talking about how I think you're talking about like what you feel in your body when you feel the fear. This is why I don't accept crumbs. Absolutely great. So I have a question for you. How do you know? Because we're talking about love avoidance, right? Do you know the difference between having your standards and not accepting crumbs? And if there's ever a time that you're giving someone who actually has all the green flags that you need, giving them a hard time. Because I was saying this in the intro for those of you who are just now joining. I was saying how sometimes we are very good at assessing and pacing relationships with people who are walking green flags, who are securely attached, who want to do nothing but just hang out and get to know us. But for the people who are the projects, for people who are having signs of unavailability, for them, we want to give first, second, third, 19 chances to. But the other healthy people were like, you're in and you're out. We had a miscommunication. I might talk to you about the miscommunication. I might tell you about what happened and how it hurt my feelings, but I've already made the decision in my mind that we ain't friends no more. I've already made the decision in my mind that I can't trust you like I did before. I already made a decision in my mind that this is as far as this is gonna go. Like we can't wait to cut it off. Like I'm just informing you. This is a courtesy conversation, but I'm withdrawing my energy, whether or not they tell it to you or not. But for this fool on the side who've been playing in our face, right? For the frenemy connection with the person who will emotionally dump on us and cancel plans last minute, and whenever we need something, she's not available for it, we give her multiple chances. Our narcissistic mother or father, right, who only wants to call us when they need something, or they make everything about them or something like that. For them, we really just crave for them to understand, and we're wanting to have constant conversations with them. But anybody else, you either get it or you don't. In fact, you know what you did wrong, and because you know what you did wrong, I don't really want to talk to you about it. We don't have grace for people who are healthy and available, the same grace that we have for the other people who show signs that they are broken and are committed to not getting it, right? Can't wait to get to that point. I thought I was seeking a better me because I believe it. Maybe love avoidance because I am over it. Yeah, I think here's where I want everybody to get to. And I've seen that there's not questions, so that's totally fine. If you're ready for point number three, then put three or a heart in the chat. Three or a heart in chat. I believe in balance. I believe there's no such thing as black and whites and absolutes. Well, let me not say there's no such thing. I think in what I'm teaching about here, what I'm teaching about here, I believe that swinging to one end of the spectrum on both ends is very dysfunctional. So if I go towards love avoidance, I don't trust nobody, nothing until they prove to me over and over again that I can trust them, and even then I still won't trust them, that's dysfunctional. To walk over here, that example that I gave about being walking love, if I'm walking love and I'm loving on the wolves and I'm loving on the other people and saying, well, I just believe the best in people. And, I'm not going to let anybody's bad behaviors affect me, but it's putting me in a dangerous position where I'm self abandoning myself. Now I'm not using what is actually healthy discernment, right? When you learn about cells, for those of y'all who remember middle school biology, when we learn about cells and their barriers, their walls, we learn that cells are permeable. They have this really incredible quality to where not only can things get out, but certain things can get in. And the ways that the barriers, the boundaries of a cell's walls are set up is that it knows what things are supposed to get and what are not. So the things that are the right shape, the right energy, the right consistency, the right chemicals, those can easily come on in. But everything that's not right shaped, everything that looks very like bacteria like, or that it doesn't belong in that cell, it can't get in. That's what we want to have. We want to have permeable boundaries to where the healthy love, connection, sensitivity, tenderness, that gets in. But all the games, all the other stuff, that stays on the outside. And vice versa. We want the walls to be permeable to where we can send love out. That we don't have to hoard all of our love and attention and kindness and stuff until we feel safe. Because here's the gag, or here's the thing. On the other side of this connection, if the person is securely attached, they have their own boundaries. They have their own requirements. They also want to be loved. So it is totally appropriate for someone who you've been putting through the ringer with all your trust issues to get tired of it. Some of us have romanticized, and I get it because I've done it too. Some of us have romanticized this idea of someone working so hard for our love. So it's kind of like, again, I'll speak for myself. I know I've had this fantasy where I could go into a relationship with all my trust issues and all my walls and be like so like cut off And like this man, like got a jackhammer. He's like chipping in. He's like, I'm never gonna give up. You're the most amazing person. I'm gonna work for you, girl. It's healthy for a person to be like, I love you, but I love myself too. I'm willing to work for you. I'm willing to champion you. I'm willing to give everything I can, but not at the sake of you starting to become emotionally abusive towards me. Not at the sake of you becoming the exact thing that you say that you hate. Someone who's going to drain, someone who is not open to giving back, someone who becomes critical, right? We can adopt the same types of patterns that we saw growing up. So in my household, there's a lot of criticism. So I'm still in process of learning how to see the positives in things before I see the negatives, right? So I had to learn one of the ways that my love avoidance would show up is I would have a really great connection. I would nitpick what's wrong. Okay, this could be better. This could be better. This could be better. And on one hand, that could look like setting standards, but really, if you meet people who have everything that you want, everything plus, everything that you want plus, and then you start to invent magical characteristics that were never a thing before, then you have to start to look at, okay, is this actually what I want, or is this a distancing technique? Is this really great thing in front of me actually starting to become triggering to me? Because now I don't have a reason to keep these walls up. Now I actually have to be vulnerable. I have to be seen. I have to let them in without my all my games. That's scary. That's so scary, y'all. Okay. Are you ready for number 3? I see a heart. Thank you for the heart. Nice. I'm happy that you enjoyed that example. Okay. So number 3. Number 3 is, for those of you joining me, I'm talking about how love avoidance sets us back in our relationships. And the third way it sets us back is it stops us from expanding and growing. It stops us from expanding and growing. Now, when I wrote this point down, I was like, oh, I hit with this one. I'm cooking with this one. Because when I put myself in the mind of all the love avoidant baddies that I've ever coached, and I put myself in and been a therapist too when I was doing therapy. And when I put myself in my own head, we are all self-help, growing, personal development groupies. All of us want to expand and grow and be our highest level version of ourselves. That's why we're here. That's why you're here with me on a Sunday morning or you're watching this. We ain't trying to keep it cute and like keep it, we're trying to ascend, right? Like that's who we want to be. That's what makes us amazing people. That's why people want to get to know us because we're always striving for something better. And I was like, look here, the longer you stay avoidant, the more you're cutting yourself from that expansion. You're cutting yourself off from relationships and levels of those relationships that you'll never be able to ascend to on your own. Because we as humans were meant to be in community. There are concepts of love, of connection, of tribehood, of sisterhood that we will not ever be able to feel and touch and also mentally understand until we're in it. So we have to become available to growing in that way so that we can help ourselves and also so that we can help others. So that we can pass on a new legacy to others of what love looks like. So that's how we start the generational change in ourselves by becoming love available, right? The other way that it keeps us stuck outside of our relationships, because you remember, for those of you know, I teach both through a relationship perspective and also our own self-love because our most important relationship is within ourselves, right? Love avoidance comes up because people did not love us in the way that we deserved. So we had to create our own force fields, boundaries, whatever, barriers, whatever it may be, right? And in them not loving us the way that we needed, there are some pockets. This isn't, everybody's not going to have the same insecurities. There are some things that I'm insecure about that someone could hear about and be like, how could you ever feel that way about yourself? I love that about myself. And there's some things that I'm super confident about that I might hear somebody else say that they doubt themselves. And I look at them like, girl, get it together. Like, so the way that it manifests is different. We all have our own different cocktail. But all of us, if you struggle with love avoidance, there's some there's some part of your being and who you are that has been not nurtured enough, which is why the walls exist to keep it safe, right? And you're the only one who knows what those core beliefs are, right? So by me learning how, in order for me to heal and become love available, that means that those negative core beliefs, they have to get healed in the interim, right? So that I don't need those walls and barriers anymore. Kind of like I've told this example many times before. I'm a tall woman, I'm 5'10". If someone ever comes up to me and is like trying to belittle me or insult me, and they're like, "You shorty," like they're using short as an insult, and then they're also calling me short. I'm gonna look at them like, what's really good? Like, is you okay? Like, what? Why? Do you understand how you sound? Like that one is so dumb. It's so true. And even if it was true, like I'm so confident in my height and in my stature, like that won't get to me, right? But let them start to say something that I'm still currently working on, right? Now I'm sensitive to it. Now I'm like, why would they say that? Like that really hurt. Or if I'm in a self protection mode, I'm doing everything I can to overcompensate for this insecurity so that nobody could ever think this about me. Like some of the things that we can excel in as avoidance are our biggest insecurities. And that's why we go so hard for it, because we're so afraid of being found out, or we're so afraid that if we stop, then this thing we secretly believe to be true, or that other people have told us they think is true about us, that we don't believe that we've internalized yet, it will manifest, right? So we can't stop. We have to keep going and keep going and keep going, right? So in order for us to ascend to be our best versions of ourselves, and to heal that part of ourselves, to be able to walk around and be safe enough to be available for love, to feel safe in our own bodies and safe in our relationships, to believe and know, because it's not saying that there won't ever be predators or people who try to get to us or like harm us, or we won't ever be duped in life again, that there are no more lessons to learn. But it's like once you have this internal sense of confidence and safety within yourself, if and when those things happen, you know that you'll be able to deal with it. Like I don't live looking over my shoulder all the time anymore, right? Like to be able to live in that place is incredible. I watched a clip of Felicia Rashad this morning. She was on the Breakfast Club. It was one of those YouTube shorts. So I don't even know the context and everything that they were talking about. But the host was saying, for those of you who don't know who Felicia Rashad is, by the way, let's. I mean, let me eliminate my facial judgment. For those of you who might not know who Felicia Rashad is, she is Claire Huxtable, the Claire Huxtable from the Cosby Show. Um, which if you don't know who Felicia, look, I need to get your culture up. I need you to watch the Cosby Show. I mean, F F Mr. Cosby, but like I need you to get your intelligence up. The point. She was on the Breakfast Club. I don't know the context of the interview, but the interviewer was saying, you are such a shining example and a role model for women, for Black women. You know, does that ever get hard for you to hold that image? And she says, light is not heavy to carry. She says, light is not heavy to carry, and that's all she said. If you've ever seen Felicia Rashad in interviews, she's just so at ease, and like she doesn't feel the need to overtalk and say too much. Like that was basically the point that she was saying. So for this, I think this fits perfectly. If we are walking around with light versus walking around with metaphorical baseball bats in case someone hurts us, or you know, weapons, or like having to be on guard, it is easy to walk around like that. It's easy to walk around with that sense of self-trust and trust in God or trust in the universe, because you know yourself and you're so content with yourself, right? And your eyes are also still open. You're not foolish, right? There's a way to have that middle ground. Okay. All right. Any questions about what I've shared today? I have a core belief that I'm not worthy, love, success, etc. So I seek women that I think are better than me to prove my worthiness. Okay, so how do your relationships with those people go? Are those relationships, I'm assuming you're saying, I don't know if you're saying that these are women that you are dating or women that you're friends with. But either way, are these relationships that you actually feel like they are scaffolding you, like iron sharpens iron, to make you feel more confident? Or does this start to become like a competitive kind of thing? Do you start to actually feel inferior to them and like apologetic for existing or something like that? And so they can take advantage of you. Like there's so many different ways that this can go. So how does that work for you? Yes, Felicia is very beautiful. She is beautiful inside and out, you know. So I think that's why she's still getting these interview clips where people like you have been a role model to many women who may not have had that role model before of what love and light and elegance and class and talent can look like. So I appreciate that about her. All right. So as I wait to see if there are any comments before I close, let me just remind y'all every single thing that I'm talking about are the things that I am talking about more at our open house on this Wednesday, March 26th at 6:30 p.m. CST. You can join me live. I will be on camera. You feel comfortable being in your PJs and everything else. But the open house is where I'm talking about working together through my Love Addiction Recovery School. For anyone who's wanted me to coach you, to help you, to walk you through this process, I do that in a 6-month coaching program that I created while I was a therapist. And I saw that my coaching clients were getting better quicker and faster than my therapy clients because coaching is about giving you solutions. It's about here's the plan. I can give you direct feedback. This is the next step for you to do and help you get into the right place. And like I said, when it comes to healing from an intimacy disorder, there's so many different parts. And so to be able to do them all at the same time is why my students have gotten accelerated results in a shorter period of time. So I talk about the different archetypes at the beginning of the open house, and then I talk about the program and how I do it and how it can help you. And you get to decide if you would like to join. And so, again, the open house is free. If you do decide to join the program, you get a special incentive for joining, a special gift and surprise. So you can register by going to blackgirlsheal.org/open house um, or click the link in the bio. By the way, your book is helping me so much. Awesome. I'm so happy it's helping you. Oh, let me show you. I don't advertise the book enough. Here's the book. For those of you who don't know, I published this book, How to Pick Partners for Love Addicts. It is on Amazon. I'm still trying to get it in Barnes& and Nobles and other places as well for those of us who are, oh my gosh, I got a little crumb on there. For those of us who are trying to boycott Amazon. But I go over how to pick healthy partners, friendships, family members. Let me tell you all the chapters that are in this. You're going to learn not only the signs of availability and unavailability. People say all the time, well, what about this situation? What about this situation? Like, should I give people grace? There's a whole chapter on special considerations. Then I give you a scale. So this isn't just like, are they nice? Are they not nice? You know, there's actual things that you can grade people on, which I appreciate as someone who um, has really tried to objectify the healing process, which can be very abstract. There's a whole scale where you can like check and see, okay, this person is great to be a best friend, a lover, or a partner. This person, better just to be a close friend. This person is basically a stranger. This person is an enemy and they're very dangerous, right? And then there are chapters on how to communicate what you need to someone. So, how do you communicate what you need when the person is available? And how do you communicate what you need when the person's unavailable? Some of us are trying to tell people who are unavailable what we need and want, and you're using all the right communication skills, but you are doing it with someone who's not going to hear you. So I talk about how to do that. I also talk about how to apologize and make amends when you find out you're the person, hello, avoidance, who have been cutting people off and being unavailable to people. How do you make amends and move forward? And then also, where do you find available people? There's a whole chapter on that. Like, you're ready for friendships, you're ready for connections, but how do you find them? And how do I become available myself? So in this little book, I packed a lot. And so I started writing this book while I started writing the No Contact book, which is still coming out for those of you who have been waiting on that. I promise you, it is a monster. It is a monster. I intended for the No Contact book to be like a 50-page guide, because I've taught No Contact for what, 9 years now, so like easy, right? When I tell you this book, that Contact book has become its own entity in a good way. Like the different assessments and scales that I have here, they're in tenfold in that book. Because when I teach no contact for me, the way that I teach it is not just cutting someone off. No contact would probably be better named as a no contact healing process, because it's not even about the people that you're going in no contact with. It's everything that you're doing during that no contact period, which is what makes it so that you don't return to that person or people like them after the 90 days are over. Which is what I also teach it as a 90-day process. So that is a monster. Anyways, while I was writing that book, I was like, well, people will go into no contact, but how will they know how to find the right people? Like, where do I send them to after that book is done? So this book started to get written while I was writing that book. This one got finished first. So I decided to publish this, and then No Contact is coming next. So Tina says, I need that one too. Hurry up, LOL. No, I want your perfection. Take your time. That's funny. Okay. Yes, I don't want to put out a crappy thing. I mean, also knowing, I know these are like going to be the first editions. I know that I'll probably add to them, expand to them. I might get different editors that want to help like with the language and other stuff around the book too. So as a recovering perfectionist, I've had to let go that the first version has to be perfect. I've done my best, Um, so that's not what's stopping it. It's really like, oh shit. It's really like there's a lot in here. So shout out to the people who are natural writers and can crank out books. Like when I hear people write books, they're like, yeah, I started the book and I finished it like in half a year. I thought that was going to be me. I thought it was like easy. Man, I will never say writing books are easy. Remember, I've told y'all, I try really hard to not talk out my neck and say things I would never do or like make fun of other people, because God will always give me humility. Almost every single thing I have said something negative about or made fun of or said I could never be me. It was me. It was me the next quarter. Like like I learned humanity does not discriminate. We are all human. And so I try really hard to be graceful because I'm not trying to get caught up. I'm not trying to get caught up with nothing else. But this one slipped through the cracks. So shout out to those of you who've been waiting for the No Contact book, being so patient, who pre-ordered. You're going to get it in such a pretty box as a thank you and a handwritten note. Just I know that that's not the same as giving you the book a year ago, but still, it's what I got. So Gabby says, I feel inspired at first, but eventually the insecurity gets the best of me and the romantic relationship fizzles out. Yeah. So since here's this is something you may already know. But when you are in queer relationships, I mean, this is the same as in heterosexual relationships too. Because some of us are in heterosexual relationships, but we're dating our mother or we're married to our mother. We're looking for daddy issues. It's really mama issues, right? But especially in queer relationships, you might need to pay attention to your mother wounds um, and how that might manifest. Because sometimes what happens is you might get in friendships or romantic partnerships with people who mimic the same type of energy as your mom, and it could be for good or for bad. So if you had a mom who, I don't know your story, obviously, like this is just a couple sentences, and I could be jumping completely off base, but maybe not, it doesn't fit for you, but it might fit for somebody else. If you have a mother who is like set apart in some way, either because she is so perfect or she is emotionally distant in some way, and part of your childhood was you learning how to fall in, to be good enough to earn their love, to fight for attention, or you did all those things and she never gave it, and so you just had to learn to go without, and you stopped chasing her for that attention. You just kind of like accepted it. That need for love and that need for care and that need for being seen does not go away. Every single thing that we've tried to repress and gone without still comes out, and it comes out sideways, which is why there are some relationships and some things we can't let go of, some addictions to people, to substances, drinking, alcohol, shopping, whatever it may be, um, weed, whatever it may be, mushrooms. Like, um, we can't let go of it because it's fulfilling a real need, a need we've been trying to silence, but silencing doesn't make the need go away. So if that is part of a past trauma pattern, you could be attracted to women who will still always be outside of you, opposite to you, untouchable to you. So you find these really gorgeous, accomplished, strong women, hoping that they will better you, which is like mom energy. That's mommy energy. Those are things that your mom should have done for you. So that's part of it. Like, this type of stuff is the type of trauma stuff that we get into in the program too. Um, the whole program is, by the way, very consent based. I'm there and I'm available for as much as you want to allow me to be. So, however much you want to share at our calls, however much you want to share in the community, I'll meet you there. And however much of your story you want to share, I don't ever force students to share, because my clients are anxious Bettys. Like, even the ones who are super extroverted, especially the stuff that we are talking about here. Like, this is Tinder. Most people don't are like low key, don't even want to join a group program. They're like, damn, I just want to do a session with you. I gotta be in a group. And I'm like, yeah, but because the fear is like you're gonna be judged and like other people are gonna understand this. If anything, this is the community of people who will. This is the people that everybody in the room is gonna be like, yep, been there, and this is what I did, or been there, and this is what I'm doing now, right? Instead of the friends or the loved ones or the other people who before just couldn't get it or got tired with you constantly being on your bullshit, right? And then also having the support of someone who has been on that side. But like, yeah, you heal intimacy disorders in community. There's tons of research. Go get on your Googles after this and Google and see what's more effective, group therapy or individual therapy. And studies have shown group therapy is, because there's something about that community aspect, of coming together. So especially this, where you feel so alone and you feel crazy and you feel like you can never get out of it. No, you need that support. But yeah, going into your trauma story is something that's totally up to you, however much you want to share or not share. Um, and I allow you to have that space. Congrats. I wrote a book that's currently being edited by my publishing company. Congrats, Shana or Shatina. Congrats. I'm working on my second now. So inspiring. I'm trying to be like you, working with a publishing company. Girl, hook me up. Let me know your book agent. If I'm assuming they're nice and you like them. So if you've had a good experience, let me know. All right. I'm going to get off now. I'm gonna go eat food, get my Sunday going. I got dance class tonight and some other fun stuff planned with some cool people and the cute boys. So I'm going to go get up out of here. So I'm sending y'all so much love. Let me know if you have any questions. Again, join me at the open house this Wednesday at 6:30 p.m. CST if you would like to work together. And I hope that it is a magical fit. And I will see everybody later. Have a great Sunday. Bye. Bye, YouTube. See ya.